foster, kinship, adoption. Welcome to CareCast, the podcast for anyone called to care. Whether you're navigating kinship care, stepping into foster care, or walking through the joys and complexities of adoption, you're in the right place. Encouragement, real talk, and lasting hope. This is a space to be encouraged, inspired, reminded that you're not alone. Each week we'll bring real stories from real people, caregivers, experts, agency and community leaders, dedicated volunteers, as well as those who've walked this journey firsthand. Because when we take time to hold stories with compassion, courage, and community, we all grow stronger. My name is Nanci Weinstein, and I am your host. I'd like to introduce those sitting next to me today, Chelsea Montgomery from Young Lives, and,
Pastor Logan.
So join us as we hold space for the hearts behind the hard work and the children who need us most. Welcome to CareCast. All right, yay.
I love
round
that.
Round of applause. We are so excited to have you here, Chelsea. You were one of the first people that popped in my mind to ask because we, at Restoration 225, we always say we have to partner. We're kind of the link between the agencies and those that are in need and those that want to serve. And so we all often have had people that want to serve, but they don't know how to get involved. And we have agencies that have needs and they don't know where to go for help, right? And so Restoration 225, we've worked really hard to make that connection. And you were one of the first agencies that we partnered with. And so we're so thankful to have you here today and the work that you do. And we will start with Pastor Logan. He has the very first question for you.
Love it.
Well, I want to begin by just saying thanks for being on. And we love Young Lives. And I think I knew about Young Life, and a lot of people I think do know about Young Life historically around the country, but Young Lives is an offshoot of that. I mean, part of that ministry and that organization. And I just begin hearing a little bit about yourself and telling everyone that's listening today what Young Lives is and what do you do?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for having me. I feel like all the time I'm like, how can I give back to what you guys do? Because I just want to tell everybody, because this has been so instrumental for us and so helpful. And so first, thank you. So Young Lives is an organization offshoot of Young Life, like you said, but we serve teen moms, dads, and their babies. Originally, Young Lives was more so for the moms, but I feel very passionately about including the dads. There's not a lot of resources for, I feel like, dads in general, much less a teen dad. And when you keep a dad involved, I feel like there's just so much that can happen for the life of that baby. And so, now Young Lives does teen dads too, which is really awesome. And so we provide resources, mentorship, community, and faith for teen moms, dads, and babies. We are not trying to be the church. We are like the outer net that wants to introduce Jesus in a very relational and tangible way and bring them back to their own home churches. We are huge into resources. And so I feel like that pillar has been so strong thanks to the work that you guys are doing. And then community, because being a mom is hard. And I feel like once you're a teenager and you're a teen mom, a lot of really girls lose their friends, lose their community. And so we're able to provide community for them with others that understand what they're going through. And then we provide mentorship, one-to-one mentorship. And so we have volunteers that come and walk alongside our parents, like professional best friends is like what we like to say. And so, that's kind of the general view of what Young Lives is, just caring and walking alongside our young parents with monthly activities and clubs for them.
Awesome.
Well, tell us how what was the spark that got you involved in Young Lives?
Yeah, so kind of interesting. I did Young Life for high schooler and middle schooler. Traditionally, that's Young Life. And I was an area director, started an area in La Mesa area. And I remember I saw a Young Lives camp, summer camp. I was doing programs, so I was doing the skits for a summer camp. All the staff have to go volunteer for a month and go work at camp. And so I was doing the skits, and it was Young Lives Week. And so it was my first time really up front seeing Young Lives camping. I'd been to a couple clubs and had my students volunteer at to do childcare at a club, but really got to see the ministry up close. I remember the girls were walking off the bus, and I feel like most of the girls we encounter have been through so much. It's a heavy trauma ministry for sure. And it was so interesting. They came off the bus and there were so many girls that just were so hardened. Life had hardened them. And And I don't blame them. And it was so just inspiring to see the way that throughout the week, you just watch these walls break down. You got to watch moms celebrated for being moms instead of judged by society, which allowed for them to really bond with their babies, which I think is something that's really hard. Postpartum depression obviously is already a thing. I think the statistic is like teen parents face like 3 times the amount of postpartum depression rates. And so just getting that space to be able to be a teenager again, but also be celebrated and bond with your baby. It was so sweet to see at the end of the week, just the joy that was brought back into their lives. I remember I wore sunglasses a lot that week because I was like, how embarrassing. I'm crying all the time. But it made me so emotional because I just really saw the hands and feet of Jesus. And I was like, man, this is beautiful. How do I get involved in this? But I'm like, I'm already too involved in the other stuff. So I guess this is just not my ministry. And then I was sitting with somebody, she's the Young Lives coordinator for Orange County. And I was like, man, you're so lucky. Like that ministry is amazing. And she was like, there's a job opening in San Diego, to start it across San Diego County. And I was like, really? Like, do you think they'd let me switch over to that? And long story short, they did. And it's been the best. Like, I just feel just grateful that I am able to do what I do. Like, not often do people get to be front row at what the Lord's doing, but also just in general of life, of getting to help people. I feel like doing passion work is like, it's a gift. I'm really lucky. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started into it and kind of brought into it. And I feel like every day I'm just, it's really hard. It's challenging when you're working with heavy trauma. But just getting to know that we're bringing one positive thing into the world, like I feel really lucky.
One extension of that is partnerships, right? Mm-hmm. So I know that obviously Young Lives dives deep in with these girls and provides amazing support for them. And I know a little bit about the partnership you have with us, but our listeners don't know. So talk about the partnership that you have with us, with Restoration 225, and any others that you want to shout out.
Totally. Well, this I could go on for a long time because when I first got the job, I was like, okay, if we have heavy needs, I remember when they hired me, they were like, okay, Chelsea, how are you going to go to bed at night knowing that your girls have a lot of need that is not going to be met? And you will be home, like in your safe bed, and like, how are you going to balance both? And I remember being like, I could do it. And then when I got the job, I'm like, okay, I'm going to figure out how to do it in a way. I'm like, I'm just going to meet the needs instead because I don't want to have to say no. I feel like it's crushing when there's not, and we can't meet all needs. We can't be all things, but partnerships is huge. And so it made it a huge priority to try to get as many resources as possible. I feel like most of them have been because of Care Portal and R225, truly. I think all the time, I'm like, how did we do it before you guys? Like, and now I want to tell like every Young Lives person, like, you guys need to get involved in this because it will change how you do ministry. Like, you can't do all things and you can't do it alone. But to now, I feel like I just have this like giant army support system, not only through people, but through the church. And we're trying to build church partnerships all the time. So it kind of is all things. When a girl has an urgent need, I'm never like, oh no, what are we going to do? I'm like, great, you have another one? Because actually it's going to be great. We totally have something. And I think at first that was like the exciting thing of like, oh wow, needs are being met. A girl needs a car seat. Great, we have a car seat. And just feeling like we could say yes to girls and they had needs met. But also, it's been the after stuff that I think has been really cool of these relationships that have been built because of that. Not only with me and the partners that you guys have and the church partners you guys have, but our students. And I think I would love for them to know that more people care than just Young Lives, right? Like, I think knowing that there is a whole army of people that would care and love them and support them through this journey of parenthood. And so it's true. And it does happen. Like, even at our parent prom, Jeannie was there and some of the other people from Care Portal. And it was crazy because they'd be able to point out and be like, oh my gosh, you're here. And I was like, wait, how did you guys, oh yeah, you probably fulfilled a need and, have kept up in relationship. And that's been really cool because there are now all these, like, I met with somebody else who was like, oh yeah, I've kept up, this girl's graduating and this girl's this. And I was like, wow, you keep up with our girls. Like, that just is a weight even off my shoulders of like, wow, there's people caring and reaching in and leaning in and saying yes to our moms and bridging gaps that are so needed.
Well, and we always talk about trust-based relationships, right? Here at Restoration 225. And I know that it was probably it can be nerve-wracking. Are we going to partner with an organization and then we're going to give them exposure to the girls that we care for, love, and are supporting and can't afford to be hurt?
Right. Well, yeah, that was a huge thing. I remember my first request I put in. I actually like remember it because they're like, oh yeah, they'll drop off a gift. Sometimes they they'll drop off something with it or a note. And I'm like, what are they going to say? Like, I'm like, are they going to say something weird or like maybe like, if people are not trauma informed or are not sometimes say goofy things. And I'm like, then I have to explain later to the student, like, no, it's okay. But hey, you got your thing. Like I was a little bit nervous when people are like, oh, we'll help build a relationship. I'm like, I don't know. And yeah, one of the girls was like, oh yeah, the woman dropped something off and brought her son with her and told her how she was a teen mom and got to show her son and say like, this is my son grown up. And this is like a future that like is possible for you. And she was just so impacted. She's like, oh my gosh, I got to meet her and the son wrote me a card. And I was like, wow. And to think that I was nervous and God forbid, like wanted, like I would have never withheld that. But like, those are relationships that if you kind of hold on and hold your people too tight, you're withholding them from people that would actually shape them more than even I could, And so I think sometimes in nonprofit world or ministry, it could be really easy to be like, these are my people and I'm holding them tight because I don't want them to, lose us or leave us or, all those things. But I feel like when you do the opposite and you work together and you hold hands together and you're like, okay, let's partner together and be a team for this parent and this group of people, I mean, you're going to achieve huge amounts of stuff for them. And that's the goal,
Well, and we just thank you so much for putting your trust in us and allowing us to connect you with those churches, because I do know that it's for every agency, that first step is a little bit nerve-wracking because you don't know. And the honest truth is we don't know every church volunteer either.
Yeah.
But we do provide training. And so we do trauma-informed care training. And we always talk about keeping the respect that you would want someone to give you or your child. And we always say the roles could be reversed. It's just life's
right.
issues that you didn't have this or that. And so we do a lot to prepare them to serve well and to serve the family with dignity. And my, I guess, greatest, I don't want to say success, but feeling of like just joy is when I hear those stories, when it's done really well and they are honoring to the person they're serving. But also I always say this too, we are always open towards feedback. I share that with you. I share that with our other agencies. How can we improve?
Yeah.
How can we serve? And if someone does say something that hurts someone's feelings, please let us know. So we know it wasn't their intention, but we can train them better to be able to serve better and honor that person in the future.
Totally. Yeah. I think even when you say like with dignity, I think loving somebody and donating and sharing somebody with dignity versus with pity goes really far. And I feel like every step of the way with what we've been doing with you guys has always been with the utmost dignity and care. It's like, how can we do the greatest and best for these moms instead of like, oh, I kind of have this old thing here. Like they can have that. Like, I'm done with this. They can have it now kind of thing. It's like never been that. It's like, hey, how can we go the extra mile and go extravagant for these girls? Which has been cool to see because I always write that in like the thing of this. These are things that we can't offer, that like we don't have bandwidth, budget, resources, storage, all the things to make these things possible. And so to be able to say yes to these things and know that these babies now have formula, they have diapers, like that relief for their moms, for us, for everybody. Those are basic needs. It's not like we're talking like, hey, we want to do the craziest thing for this mom and go above and beyond. Like we're talking a lot of the things are basic needs, and it's a joy and a gift to know that they're getting it in such a joyful way. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's awesome.
Yeah, I want to just jump in and say, like, I remember meeting you and my mind was blown in a few ways. This has happened to me at Restoration 225, and I think God has kind of pulled back the curtain in a lot of ways. I always say I was a kinship kid before I knew what kinship was, growing up with my grandparents, but also I grew up in a teen mom house. My mom was a teen mom. My mom was 18, and my dad was 19, but they were still teens, okay? And so the complexities that came with that through life with a challenging young couple who was not walking with the Lord and who didn't have a lot of experience. I remember being a young kid watching movies that I probably shouldn't have watched as a young child because I think my parents were just like, this is what we do. This is what we're doing. We're going to a movie. So I had nightmares for a long time watching scary movies as like a 2-year-old because like, he won't remember this. And then I'm like screaming in
I
bed.
actually remember this.
But those are, and I'm not saying that happens in every situation, but
Totally.
but it's really unique. I'm like, man, Lord has been shaping my life for some of these moments. And I didn't even know there was a ministry like Young Lives until we met.
Yeah.
And then there was another conversation we had that, again, was helpful to my heart as a pastor, because my heart is always to serve and help in any way that we can and point people to the hope of Jesus, but also knowing that there is a lot of layers to that. And people have been hurt by the church, and some people, some churches and some Christians don't always reflect Christ, unfortunately. And we want to do our best to reflect Jesus as best we can, even if and love people, whether or not they ever come to our church. But there is a hope that they would come. Totally. And I remember you saying something to me, thinking as like an ambitious pastor, like, how can we get these girls in the church? How can we get these parents in the church and just hitting me with the reality of like, these families are in a really unique position because some of them are old enough for a youth group, but they have a baby. Mm-hmm. And they also are too young to be in like a young mom's class or a young adult's class because they're in high school. And I was thinking, man, I have never thought about that to that degree. And that was so eye-opening for me to think, how can we create the space? And I still want to be that kind of pastor. We still want to create that kind of a church. How can we be the kind of church that has space for people and families and couples to serve them and love them well and disciple them and point them towards Jesus in all of the situations of life? And you're right, you can't serve everyone. I mean, my heart is to just serve everyone. I want a million ministries at our church that meet the needs of every foster kid, every kinship kid, every teen parent, and all their kids. And so I love that. But thinking through that, I mean, tell our listeners and our viewers, really, what are some really unique challenges? Like, speak to the church, speak to the people who don't know anything, right?
Yeah.
This is an educational moment. What are some really unique challenges that these teen parents face? Yeah. That maybe someone listening or watching wouldn't know or even think about, like I didn't think about.
Yeah, I mean, really quick, to just go back to what you were saying, though, I think it's so interesting because obviously you want to serve all people, and I love that, and I see that heart all the time. And so while your group may not have like a teen parent or like group or whatever, I think that's the great thing of partnering. That's why we want to create these church partnerships of like, hey, you may not already have, like, you probably have a youth group or a mom's group or whatever, but you may not have a group for teen parents. And so, like, if you partner with us, we can help bridge that gap of need and then create a safe place of belonging in your church that I think a lot of our girls sometimes are really fearful of walking in and thinking like, wow, I'm a lot of times single mom, I'm young, and this is a place where I feel like I'm going to be judged, when we know and we'd hope that would be the opposite. Mm-hmm. Like, how can we love and pour in and love you where you're at? And so I think when I find that, I feel like I found that so much through the work you guys are doing and all the partnerships, the people I've worked with, of like, hey, our space is open and wants to partner with you so that we can love your girls too. And so I think that's a huge part of it, of like, you might not have all those little like random subgroups happening, but all those people might be at your church. And if there's a culture of belonging, it'll be natural. But going back to your question, I think statistically in the United States, 1 in 10 births is to a teen mom. And so there are a lot of teen moms. I think in San Diego in general too, they say around 200 to 500 in every, like in our school districts of teen moms. And so a lot of our students, we found either A, drop out of school, B, do online school. And so they kind of just hide away because it's hard. Like, it's so hard to be a parent. I feel like even with my son, I'm like, it's just easier to be home sometimes with like the toys we have and the setup we have, right? There are some schools we've partnered with, and actually, I'll get to that too, because Care Portal actually opened some doors for us for that, which was really cool. I want to acknowledge that. But yeah, and so I think it's a really challenging thing. They say that around, if you're talking teen parents, it's around like 40 to 50% of teen parents graduate high school. Teen moms is a little bit lower, like 35%. But Young Lives hired a statistician. It's around the world, Young Lives. But they hired a statistician and found that with participation in Young Lives, that number jumped to 85%.
That's amazing. Wow.
So it's like one of those things of just the role of a caring adult in the life of a student, any student, not even a teen, like a teen parent, a teenager, anybody in general. They say it takes 5 caring adults to shape somebody. And so to have that mentorship and to have that support of like, hey, we are here for you and we want to see you thrive. And we're going to stick it out for the long haul. I think that's like one of the coolest things about our leaders. We're volunteer based. I'm the only staff person right now. We're hiring somebody, but for the most part, we are volunteer based. And so talk about the commitment and care of our people that go the extra mile to love these moms outside of their jobs, outside of their church, outside of all the things. They are there showing up. Most of our volunteers, the San Diego Young Lives, like the South Bay group started about 8 years ago. And I would say a lot of the volunteers we have are from 8 years ago, who have walked and journeyed alongside a lot of parents through the years and still do. Have them over and throw birthday parties and throw like all that stuff. And so just showing up in the lives of these students, it's amazing to see like what the Lord can do with that. But yeah, it's hard because they say that it's actually worse for somebody to have a mentor that jumps in and then jumps out than it is to even have one at all, which I think is a hard thing because like we want everybody to volunteer. We want people to be involved. And then I think sometimes they're not used to, if you're not trauma informed, we do training, but when people aren't ready for that, sometimes like it can feel really hard to be like, oh, whoa, that was hurtful or that was hard or, it's working in relationship. And so I think that's a hard thing too, is you're dealing with situations that also will wreck your heart. And I mean, even my husband and I were having a date night and I was like, man, it's actually mentally hard for me to be here right now because like one of our students is in a shelter with her newborn baby and another student, we had a student that was in a hospital for domestic violence. And it's like, those are moments you just hard to just like turn off and be like, okay, and how's dinner? Like, let's have dinner and think our life is normal. I'm like, man, actually like a lot of our girls are hurting right now. And how can I just be like, keep providing and keep showing up even when it's hard,
Yeah, a friend of ours, Jason Johnson, said one time at a dinner, he was just saying that Jesus didn't run from hard places. He moved towards hard places and hard people. And not hard people in the sense that they're bad people, but just people who've been in really difficult circumstances and situations. And as I read the scriptures, I'm just seeing time and time and time again that Jesus takes a long way. He goes to the people that nobody else would go to. He's having dinner and building friendships and calling people up and out of in love and grace to these people who everyone else has walked away from or kind of looked at in shame. And it's hard to turn that stuff off for sure. But I love the work that you're doing.
I was going to ask another question, kind of along this topic. What is one thing you wish you could say to people, about teen moms and the work you do through Young Lives to make them think differently, to kind of change their perspective? Because I think there is so much judgment, sadly.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I've said this, I think, every episode, but for the grace of God, go I, right? Like, I mean, we've all been teens. Yeah. And we've all made choices that we would regret, some of those choices. And some of those choices had certain consequences, and some of those choices had not as bad consequences. But the truth is, we've all been teenagers. Yeah. And in this situation, that decision made, a consequence that is life-lasting in many ways. So, but what could you say to those that are listening, some of the people that may stand in judgment, or, what are they missing? What are they not understanding?
Yeah. I think a huge thing for me that I would just really love people to know, our moms, not only are they the most resilient women that continue to push through and push through and push through, because they know it's not about them, it's about their babies. They are some of the most incredible moms out there, truly. And I don't just say that like, oh, they're just incredible moms. You would not believe it. But like, to their core, the way that they choose every single day to show up and do the hard things for their babies it inspires me all the time, that I'm like, wow, how can I constantly choose my babies in ways that they choose their babies? You know what I mean? Like, one of our directors, Luma, always talks about how, like, the girls, like, they get interrupted by the way they're like, oh yeah, what do you need? Like, I'm here for you. And I feel like it's so easy for us to be like, okay, hold on, I'm talking to somebody, like, move along. Just the care and attention. I watch them all the time, just like even in the trenches of hard situations, their baby is number one to them. And so I think that's a hard thing if people are like, oh, they're bad moms, they shouldn't have those babies. And all X, Y, and Z. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. Like, these moms love and care for their babies so deeply. They just need help. They just need resources. They just don't have access to the money. Like, I'm thinking like when I was with my son in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh man, this is challenging. Okay, let me go on Amazon and okay, perfect. It arrives tomorrow. I can have this tool that'll help me do this thing better. And I'm like, our moms don't have that and still are incredible moms. And so if we could just give them what they need to bridge that gap. They're great moms. They have need. If we just, if we just put that together, I mean, they'd be unstoppable, truly.
What are some of those needs? So, the things, what are ways that we could get more involved or we could encourage others to support them? What are some of the most needed either items? And I know we always talk about, it's not just the tangible things, it's the compassion that can be shown once you have a relationship with that teen mom. But what are some of the things that could get us through that doorway, that you tend to put on Care Portal? Yeah,
I think a huge one we've found lately is diapers. Diapers is a huge one. It was so sweet. Jeannie's church, Claremont Emmanuel, on their like fifth Sunday, whenever there's like a fifth Sunday in a month, they decided that they want to do a diaper drive. And so they did a diaper drive for us, and it was crazy. I mean, it's just like my whole van all the time is just filled with all the stuff. But it was awesome to be able to then go back to our moms in that next club and be like, it felt like Christmas Day, truly. Like, we're opening these boxes and handing it out. And, it's not like girls are taking an excess and trying to, like, it's like, they're like, oh, my friend's baby's this size. Hey, come over here, grab this size. And it's just such a sweet thing to be able to provide that for them, because, I mean, diapers is such a basic need, but it's really big right now. Even the schools that we've partnered with have reached out to us and said, like, we need diapers. How do you guys get diapers? We need diapers. And so, yeah.
That's incredible. So we're going to put that out there right now.
Diapers!
I'm going to look at the camera. If you are...
And wipes. And wipes, probably.
Yeah,
we got to combo that up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But if you are a church member or a community member, we need diapers and wipes to help these teen moms. And that is such a basic need. And like you said, that is never something that, fortunately in my life that I ever worried about, will I be able to go buy the diaper for my child? And so I would love, and we'll give you information on how to get that to us. But that's awesome.
Diapers, yeah. Even if, like, I think another thing is, even if you're a parent and you have leftover and it's like 5 diapers, like, we could have those at a club and be able to say, like, oh, hey, I have like a handful of diapers. Those are not things that I'm like, oh, don't give it to us, it's only 5. Like, no, that's great. If you're onto the next size and you're halfway through a box, great. We'll take donations like that all the time. Yeah.
Awesome. So definitely diapers and wipes. Heard it here first.
Yes.
But no, honestly, that truly is what we do, right? Because sometimes they don't even know. But a church member may not be ready or feel comfortable to go and actually provide the item to some people feel nervous about that. But if you want to start something at your church where you just do a diaper drive, we can get those diapers to those girls that need them, right?
Yeah.
And so, and that's something, like you said, Jeannie's doing. Jeannie does everything almost, but
what doesn't she do?
We have a lot of wonderful people like Jeannie, but just to get that out there, and it's something that's so basic and so needed, and then any parent knows you need diapers with a baby.
Yes.
And then how old do you support? Can you talk about the support that Young Lives provide from like the very beginning and then onward?
Totally. So we support parenting teenagers from however young they get pregnant. There was a girl we had that got pregnant at 12. And so traditionally, though, I think we're like, they're usually around 16, 15, 16, even 17. And then up till 21, our group does up to 21. We found, though, that just because you hit 21 does not mean it's like, okay, see ya, have fun, and the rest of the time, have, whatever. I think for a lot of Young Life stuff, bigger organization, Young Life, it's easier when they graduate high school to be like, okay, there's college Young Life, you're going to college, go join those things. But there's not a lot of groups for like a 21-year-old mom, especially statistically, there's usually 2 children involved or more. Mm-hmm. And so we have, Young Lives has a group now called Rise, and that's a group for our 21 and up moms. And it's an opportunity for them to study scripture together, but also learn how to give back and be junior mentors themselves. Great. And so that's been fun. We have a few of our moms have given back and are now mentors, and they are the ones that are like, rides is a huge thing for us to be able to drive them around to club and other things. And so we are constantly day of like everybody's in cars shuffling around driving girls, and the ones that are always saying yes, it's our former teen moms that are like, okay, I'll go grab this one and this one. I have room for my car for one more. I mean, driving around town, it's amazing. And so it's fun to be able to like then shift and flip it and be like, okay, how can you now give back to like what you've been given? It's really awesome.
No, that's so amazing. And I love the mentorship that you're creating. It's like a seed you've planted in them, a gift you've given to them, but then now they so want to provide that for those that is like pull the next person up behind.
Yeah. It's fun. It's cool. Yeah. And then the kids right now, I think the oldest is 8 that's been a part of our program. But once they hit middle school, then they could do wildlife, which is, Young Life for middle schoolers, or join like, a church's middle school group. And so it's fun to see the cycle. I think that's a cool thing about Young Lives is there's like a generational impact happening of like, okay, your life has now been impacted and now your baby's life has been impacted. And now they get to like walk with the Lord and know this different life because of what their mom provided and just said yes to. So
I know one activity that took place at your church was the prom. I was going to ask about. So let's talk about that, because why was it so needed, and why did you feel called to say yes and all of that?
Well, I'll jump in and say that as a church, and I think I want to speak to churches and pastors and leaders, that I'm always leaning into Chelsea and say, how can we help? And we don't want to overwhelm, and we know there's a lot of mentorships, and like she said, we want to make sure that we have the right people and the bandwidth and all those things. But having a facility, we've been able to say, hey, how can we open it up for you? And so they've hosted clubs there. And then also mom prom. And I remember for me, I grew up in a public high school, and so I didn't grow up in church. And so prom was like a big thing. I think it still is. Homecoming and prom is a big thing. Different schools, different generations. But remember hearing her talk about how these girls are missing and these guys are missing out on prom. And I didn't go this year. I was just there to open the doors and get everything ready for her and their team. But last year I came with a couple of my daughters, and we got to experience a little bit of what was going on. And it was like so awesome. We were just trying to be like a fly on the wall and just watching the dancing, the fun, the kids, the moms and the dads and the babies were dressed up. I thought it was like the coolest thing.
So
I was like,
cute. Oh my
man,
gosh,
this is the best
much.
prom ever. And you think of, okay, that's a way that we can help. And I think that we forget often that sometimes just opening your doors is the best thing that you can do as a church to support. And don't worry about all like the next level things, but just open your doors. And I'm just thinking, man, how many churches out there have space? How many have buildings? How many go vacant throughout the week? And that always breaks my heart to think there's so many big buildings and so many places that could be used for so many good things, especially clubs and events. And if only, they would link up. And that is part of our mission. Our goal is to be the bridge to go. I tell pastors all the time in churches everywhere, hey, let me be your outreach pastor. And let me do the hard work for you of relationship building. And let's say the hard work, but actually it's the fun work. We get to hang out with people like Chelsea and Young Lives, and then say, hey, let's link you up in Mid-City or North County or East County or wherever that we have relationships so that they can experience prom there as well, or wherever it's needed, because San Diego County is a large county and there's a lot of people that are situated everywhere. And you guys are all over San Diego, correct?
That's the goal, is to grow across San Diego County, yeah. But what you said is so true, because that's other than like tangible needs for our moms. Obviously that comes first and foremost. But for our clubs, finding a space is tough, especially we've grown a lot since getting started a couple years ago. We are kind of like outgrowing the traditional spaces that we had kind of thought through, but Young Life normally could be in somebody's backyard because it's like, it's at a home, it's a high schooler, or like at the school. We don't really have those places. Plus we have now a crew of babies. At our last event, we had 43 babies, 50 moms. Incredible. I mean, we're talking a lot of people, because then you have a whole childcare team, a whole volunteer team, and then adult helpers. So we're kind of a massive crew. We can't just be like, hey, can we borrow your backyard? Because then babies are screaming over here. It's like we want those moments to create moments for the moms to be able to be in community and hear the message. So it helps, like churches are the perfect location because they have childcare rooms so that they can, all be taken care of and with toys that are already there and stuff like that. We put them away, don't worry. And so I think that is huge. But prom, so we've done prom now 2 years. This is our second year, and Pastor Logan's hosted us, and that was a relief because trying to find a location for that would be like, I'd be putting it out there on Facebook groups all the time. But it was so sweet because we had just it was fun to even have some of the church partners that we've built through Relationship and Care Portal come to prom, because they now know the moms or they know what we're doing. And I'm like, hey, you can come and see, check it out, and come volunteer. And it was fun. I was like, wait, I know you through, it was cool for them to be like, oh yeah, one of the moms told me. And so I wanted to come and help and serve. And so we had about 50 volunteers, which was really helpful. That was a dream. And people brought like desserts and all these things. And yeah, traditionally, prom is a big deal. Like I feel like in high school, everybody is so excited.
My daughter she's senior. She just went to prom.
Yes, I feel like on like social media, I see all the time like pick out my dress for prom and all these things. And so traditionally, that would be a thing. And we have some of our girls like were kicked out of their high schools or had to drop out or now go to a high school that doesn't have a prom. And so, well, it seems kind of like minor and small, but it's like what a fun night that like everybody can have just like a night to dance away and have fun and enjoy. And so, yeah, we had hair and makeup people come and somebody did like a blow up photo booth for them. My husband is a DJ, so I'm like, hey, you're DJing tonight. It's awesome. And so that was great. My friend's a photographer and she did professional shots of all the moms and babies, which was really sweet. And so, oh my gosh, the baby prom dresses are cute. Like those girls showed up with the cutest little outfits. I just couldn't believe it. And so, yeah, we like partnered with the Princess Project. They gave all our girls prom dresses. It was just beautiful. It was so awesome. And so, yeah, getting to curate these fun monthly gatherings for our moms is huge. And so we can't do it without space, truly. That's
What do you
hard.
think is the biggest block or judgment? Like, have you ever been in a space where, that someone doesn't, want to serve those girls because they're fearful? Like, I'll just put it out there. Like, oh, I have a teenage daughter. I don't want my teenage daughter to see and then think like I touched her and therefore my teenage daughter is going to end up being pregnant. Really silly ways of it. But I can understand it. My middle daughter's to 18 and I could think, oh, well, what if she goes and serves and hangs out and then she's like, this is cool. They have babies, that's awesome. We all know that's not really what happens, but what are some of the blocks where people are like tentative to serve?
I think there definitely is like a fear of unknown too, of like, oh, like, will this encourage something or, whatnot? And I think it's so interesting too, because it's funny. Sometimes parents have been like, hey, I want to show my daughter like the impact of like choices she's making. And so they'll have their daughter do like childcare and the daughter's exhausted afterwards. And it's like, actually, I don't, stuff like that. It's kind of funny. But, I think like ministry in general, no matter what kind of ministry you do, it's messy. Life is messy. Yeah. And so saying yes to the mess is hard. But I think through one of our volunteers, her name's Patty and her husband, Philip, are incredible people. And so she has two sons. They're now one is in college and one is still in high school. And she has had them volunteer with Young Lives throughout since it's started. Like their little family unit does childcare every month with us. And I would say watching her boys monthly show up and have built this relationship with these babies. And I mean, they are better men for it, honestly. Like watching them and watching them serve. And it's fun to serve as a family. I think that's the fun thing of Young Lives. You get to serve as a family. And so, I think there's just been something really sweet to even see the example that she set with her kids I'm like watching her sons and I'm like, man, I hope that my son is like that one day, that he would say yes to the mess and would jump in and be like, loving on these sweet babies. I mean, it's really sweet, but I think there's judgment in so many factors. And some churches are even like, oh, is it going to be really messy? Is it going to be, there's a lot at play. And your tablecloths. I was like, how do I wash these? Yeah, I think it's hard, but there is so much to gain from saying yes to moments like this that I would say like it doesn't even compare.
Yeah, I received a lot of the same questions or concerns. When I was fostering, I would and I had two young kids at the time, and they were like, well, how will they feel, and how will that impact them, and will they know about the stories as to why the children were removed? And all of these things, like you said, that messy part.
Yeah,
but honestly, you just serve.
Right. You just say yes, and then you'll be like, oh, wait.
And the rest works out.
Yeah.
And I know that my daughters learned so much through being exposed to the foster care system at a very young age, right?
The real world.
And the real world. Mm-hmm. And we had real conversations that were appropriate for their age as they got older, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't tell all these different things when they were little, but But as they got older, we were, and we were able to have open conversations. And I think the same is true, and I'm thinking of my 9-year-old son. I was like, I would love for us to serve as family, and we'll be calling you so we can do that, because why shouldn't he? It's not like, oh, he'll see this and be exposed to this, therefore that
and want to be
a young dad. Like, I don't think that's necessarily the trajectory.
Totally.
But I know often people hesitate, especially with the teen mom situation.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love that you're serving teen dads too. I want to give that shout out too, is that you really have talked about growing that part of the ministry.
Yes. Which in Care Portal, we have one of our teen dad mentors is kind of like a partnership we've built with you guys. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I was just thinking a couple things back, a couple statements ago, we were talking about the tablecloths at our church. And I think one of the things that God has helped me through is just knowing, by the way, it was fine. We had extra tablecloths. We just pulled them off and did them in the morning as a family. My kids came early. I'm like, hey, I need you to pull these off. We'll put new ones on. But I think there are churches, I know, and pastors, and they think about these things, and I think, would a messy tablecloth or an extra vacuuming be a cause for me not to open our building and serve people in need? And not for me. And I don't want that. I hope that there's no churches out there, and I know there are, but my heart breaks to think, while we didn't do anything but open our building, I think all the things you've just said about the night, we had a hand in by just saying yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have no idea. Everybody plays a part in the story. And so thinking of what opportunities would be missed or lost from not having a space. And I think, is that worth it to worry about extra crumbs or wiping a table? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
You miss the blessings, and you miss being part of what God is doing in the lives of parents and kids. And I think often we just have no idea. I just said this last week on Sunday service, and I just said, we have no idea how many people have prayed for us. But I think about these girls and these dads and these families, like, they coming to Young Lives is an answered prayer for someone. And these moments that you get to have with them, and the fun moments, are seeds planted that will grow in the hearts and the minds of these little kids for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And maybe today they're not in church, and maybe today they're not thinking about Jesus, and maybe I don't know what their story is, but someday they can look back and say, I remember this moment.
Yeah.
And we had so much fun.
Seed plant,
Oh, man. And just over a lifetime, who knows what kind of forest that grows into.
Yeah.
And so I just think about those things. I just want to ask kind of another question too, a couple more before we land the plane here. But one is just this: like, what has God done in your heart and your life since working with Young Lives? What is something He's shaped you in or changed you in? I know for us, we talk all the time about foster care. So for us, there are moments where I remember coming into foster care and thinking maybe a little bit more. We've talked a lot about judgment, but maybe a little more judgmental of the parents. Like, how could you do this? And then all of a sudden we would sit down with the parents and the people and go, oh my goodness, this has been a cycle, and they've been hurt and wounded, and that doesn't give excuse for the things they've done in foster care or where they're at. But man, you empathize more and you realize that they needed somebody in their lives.
Yeah.
And so God has softened my heart in a lot of ways to just lean in with love, hopefully, and empathy, and saying, tell me your story before I ever think one bit of judgment. But how about you? Like, what are some things in some ways that God has kind of shaped your mind or changed some perspectives?
Yeah. It's interesting. We're talking about tablecloths in the washing machine. I feel like God has me in a washing machine all the time. I'm just like constantly being like tossed around. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm learning more and more every day. But it's like a gift to have to like grow as a person. Right.
Yeah.
But I think kind of in my like 3-ish, 4-ish years of specifically doing Young Lives, and kind of my life and my heart and what the Lord has kind of done. And yeah, so I guess for anybody listening, trigger warning of pregnancy loss. But when I first started the job, I was pregnant alongside the girls, and I was like, perfect. Like, I'll understand these moments with the girls, and it'll be really sweet. And, we're in this joy moment together of like, oh, your body's doing this. Mine too. It's so weird, And so I'm like, oh, this is what the Lord has me. And I feel like some people get involved in Young Lives because they're like, oh, it's babies and moms, and it's so sweet, and there's so much joy. And there is. We ended up losing our sweet Parker. He was stillborn. And it was one of those moments that really, rocked my world in many ways. My son is amazing. But I feel like he's given me so much passion for what I do, because I feel like the Lord in that season actually called me to something very different than I thought I signed up for. I think I went into it thinking like, wow, there's going to be all these things. And I was like, okay, actually, no, like, do I still feel called to this? Like, how can I do a ministry with parents and, all those things? And I showed up to my first club after taking some time off to heal. And I learned that 3 of our moms had losses. And one happened at the club that we were having currently at that time. She was in the bathroom and was like, wow, I don't know what to do. And it was one of those, like, you can almost just like stop and stare into the world of like, it's like you're having this like out of body experience, because I was like, wow, I thought the Lord called me into this for one thing. And I'm realizing slowly that there is so much more to it than that. Our girls, like I said, have heavy trauma and heavy hardship. One of our girls had a stillborn herself. And, when I was talking to her, she hadn't really talked to anybody about it. And getting to walk alongside and have these shared experiences, like I don't take those moments for anything. And so that first year or so, I walked through a lot of trauma with girls in a way that was so different, I think, than had I not lost my son. And not that I would have said anything inappropriate. That's not who I am. But I feel like I was able to just sit and be and understand that, like, and I think that's what ministry is and what life is. We're just in relationship. We're just like living life alongside. And so just getting to sit and be part, and also have girls in that with me. One of our girls who's now in the Rise program wants to be a mentor. She dropped off flowers to me every single week for a year.
Wow.
Every single week. And I was like, I know you have needs. Like, the fact that you're choosing to spend part of your budget on me to show me that I'm loved is like, I will never forget the ways that our girls they loved me, because they're moms and they understood. And so in that season, that's where the Lord had me. And I was learning so much about how to walk with people in hard situations. I think that was kind of where he had me. And then a year and a half later, we had our sweet Augie, and I'm in a different season of walking alongside our girls, kind of balancing both. And I think, isn't that life, like balancing joy and grief at the same time? It's this kind of weird thing we do, but what a gift that I've been given this opportunity to do that with the moms. And so I think that's like also part of the big misconception, is I feel like people like this ministry, are excited about this ministry, or want to help, but they feel like, oh man, I'm not a mom, or I'm not a dad, or I'm too young, too old, too, whatever. And they're like, I'm not qualified for that. Like, somebody who can speak better, or somebody who knows the Bible better than me should do it. Like, and they think that they wouldn't be a fit here. And I couldn't say that's farther from the truth. I think that the Lord qualifies the called. And so I think if anybody feels any sort of love or passion for this, like, if you just show up and care, that goes far for any relationship you have. And so I think the Lord can work and do amazing things if you just say yes to the call. And it's scary sometimes, it's ugly sometimes, and it's beautiful sometimes. But what a gift to when you say yes, how much that will shape your life,
Wow. I just want to honor what you just shared, because I didn't know that. And I have walked and held the hands of friends that have had, babies that were stillborn, and it is devastating. And what I want to honor right now is that you still followed the call that you felt was placed in your life, because to do that after that type of loss is incredibly difficult, I would imagine. Yeah. To be surrounded by pregnant people, and those that may be even frustrated that they're pregnant, and
yeah,
like it wasn't necessarily the plan they had hoped for.
Totally.
And so I just want to make space for that, and just like, wow, give you mad props for, and I know you don't need that, but like, I just don't want to jump over that moment because that is incredible. And so I love you even more than I did just before. But thank you for sharing that too, because I think it helps so many people who are listening that you can go through what would be the most devastating thing you could think could happen to you and still use that. And God can use that for good. And God can use that to help the next person sitting next to you or behind you. And so
you never know what people are going through. And I think that was a misconception because people are like, well, don't you work with people that don't even want their babies? How could that happen to you? I'm like, wait, no, that's not. They're so loved and wanted. And so how can we support that?
Right.
Yeah.
No. And I don't want to jump to our last question because it doesn't connect in this gravity.
No,
but
it's
at the same time, I know I'm looking at the clock too and we're ticking, but thank you. So thank you for sharing that. The last question that I really wanted to jump in here with is if you could dream big, like have incredible, like this is what I dream. This is what I hope. This is what I wish for your ministry, for your work, for the girls that you serve. What would you say, if we could have this, or I would hope this, and if this would make such a big change for our girls, what would that be?
Good question. I think I've been so thankful for the partnerships created through using Care Portal and R225. And I'm like, how can I lean even deeper into those? I think some of the sweetest moments has been like, I got to meet Pastor Logan through this. I got to meet Jeannie. I've gotten to meet Minette, like all these different people through the different churches I've had some interface with. And I'm like, some of them I've never met before. They're like a contact in my phone and we've messaged a lot. Sometimes when I meet people, I'm like, wait, that's you. I've been texting you a lot. And so I think our ministry goes beyond the physical needs. Sometimes it's more of like some of the other needs. And so I would love to continue building relationship. If you like want to meet with me and gather with me or like talk about how your church, like 1 month, if there's a small group that's like, hey, we'll do childcare for one of your groups for 1 week, like our small group will give back and do that one time. Or, there's really creative ways and fun ways. And so I would say that's like a huge thing. One of the churches did a angel tree for us and all the girls and their babies got Christmas gifts that year. And it was so awesome. And so I think there are fun ways to partner. And I even if it's something super small, like one person comes and gets to volunteer and see it, that's huge. And so I just want to keep building a relationship, even if it's meeting me for coffee and just getting to talk about what's going on in each other's ministries and learning more, because then one day when you do have if somebody has a teen parent that comes to their program, like they know there's other resources that I can point them to as well, because that's all kind of the things. So yeah, that's a big one for sure.
Awesome. Well, you heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. We can connect you with Chelsea. We can connect you with Young Lives. Yeah. We obviously love your ministry and support you and everything you do. And I don't know if you have any last.
No, I mean, I'm just grateful that you're on here today, because I just think that as we talked about doing this podcast, we don't know how long it'll go, how many episodes we'll have. I mean, there's so many things that are just brewing in our mind. But the one thing that we did know was that some of these stories that are captured, they live on, and we get to pass them around and share them out there. And we have no idea, like those planting of seeds, that these will be seeds planted, that people will watch these things and they'll hear things that the Lord will use to say, oh my goodness, that was me. Or there's a girl out there that's like, I didn't even know about Young Lives, and can I get involved? Or there's a family going through it. Or there's somebody that's like, I want to serve, or I want to give back. Like, that is our hope for sharing stories. And I know that was Coastal Cast Studios too, and talking to Alex and doing all that he's doing here and their organization, their business and startup was just to share stories. He's like, I love to tell stories.
Yeah.
And so we are like, we love to tell stories. We love to talk to each other. And we're like, how can we talk, film it, lock it down, and share it with as many people? And honestly, it has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with, we have so many good people like you in ministries that we want to share it with the world so that people can hear and maybe even, I don't know how far it goes, maybe a state out there that doesn't have a Young Lives yet. It's like, oh my gosh, we need that here.
Yeah.
And that would be our great hope.
Or a church would even partner and say like, we want to be part of Care Portal. Look what it's doing for all these groups of people. I mean, just a last quick thing. I mean, our group, I think has the numbers it does because of the support we've gotten from you guys. There was a school that was notoriously like, we don't want faith-based groups. And I was like, yeah, but we provide, we provide so much more. And they were like, don't even bother with them. So I'm like, okay, whatever. And because we were providing so many needs for girls through Care Portal and in our group, the school was like, oh, they've opened doors. And they're like, oh, you could be on campus, come, once a week, whatever. And people are even still shocked. They're like, wait, you're doing stuff with that school? I'm like, yeah, we are. And because of that, we have so many girls coming, and I'm not even afraid for how many girls come now because I know we can handle it, because I'm like, oh, we have a team that cares, not just through Young Lives, but because of Care Portal, truly, I feel like we can do the work that we're doing. I would be very scared for growth had we not had that, but you guys are making it possible for us. You're opening every door, and it's everybody needs a Care Portal, and working with R225. And just the people I've met along the way has been a gift to me in my life. And so I love it. I'm like the biggest fan of this, because I'm like, this is helping change lives.
Well, and you are too. And we thank you for those kind words. And we just will reiterate, Restoration 225, that's the organization that we work for, but we partner with other agencies like Young Lives and many others in San Diego County.
Yeah.
And then what we utilize, you've heard the word Care Portal a lot. And in case you don't know, Care Portal is an online platform in which Chelsea and other agencies can put a request in. And once they put that request in, it goes out to the churches we partner with, and our church response teams, they see all the requests and they can click on, yes, I can help. And it's just one of the ways that we support those in need, children in need in San Diego County. But it is one of the easiest ways to get involved, I would say, quickly, is to, look us up. And I'm going to give all that information in a minute. But thank you again, Chelsea, for being here today,
of course,
for talking about Young Lives. And you can find her at... Do you have an email you want to tell the people listening?
Yeah.
You want to get in contact with you?
Chelsea, CHELSEA, Monty, MONTY 19 @gmail.com.
Yes. Awesome. And then you're about to hear more information. Any last things?
No, that's it.
Close it out? Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. As we close this episode, we want to thank again Chelsea Montgomery and Young Lives for being partners with us here in San Diego County. We also want to sincerely thank Coastal Cast Studios for helping us record and produce this podcast. And if you want to get involved and find out more information, how you can partner with us and then partner to support the agencies that we serve and the families that we serve, please look us up online at restoration225.org or on all the socials at restoration225. It is our sincere hope that you will join us in being the heart behind the help. Now, go care for one today.